I want to speak about an alleged incident said to have taken place in and around August or September 1983 at the Sherwood Diner in Lawrence, which is in Nassau County, Long Island. And that era was when the mob, arguably, was at its highest point of intensity. Sitting at a table in the diner was Frank Manzo, a member of the Lucchese family, and one of Vic Arena's sons. Vic Arena was a Colombo captain. And for some reason, at some point, Manzo allegedly made a disrespectful comment aimed at Vic Arena. Arena's son, in an effort to defend his father's honor, smashed Manzo over the head with a ketchup bottle and quickly left the diner. As the story goes, Manzo and a friend jumped in the car and gave chase. They eventually spotted him and fired a few shots in his direction. Apparently, the young Arena ducked, but Manzo, believing he was hit, left the area. During this time period, Vic Arena was up and coming. He would eventually go on to be the acting boss of the Colombo family. But when the incident took place, Carmine Persico was the official boss of the family and serving a 5-year sentence. Acting in his place was his brother Alley Boy and then Jerry Langella. Manzo was a member of Paulie Vario's crew. Vario was a well-respected Luchese captain, a family led by boss Tony Ducks Corallo. It's by no means far-fetched to say mob politics can get tricky. For instance, you could have two different members do the exact same wrong thing and yet have two different outcomes. So let's outline what we know about this incident. The first mistake came from Manzo, and that would be the disrespectful comment about Vic Arena. And whether the comment was made to Vic's son, or anyone else for that matter, he shouldn't be speaking about a friend, a fellow member like that. The second mistake was telling a guy's son what he felt about his father, thus showing his hand by doing so. The next mistake came from Vic's son. He had no business putting his hands on Manzo, or let alone hitting him in the head with a bottle. I get it, he was defending his father, but it only compounded the situation. Manzo made the final mistake by trying to shoot and kill the son of a captain, although he does have the right to defend himself, and I'll explain. During my induction ceremony, the family's acting boss, Matty Madonna, had told me I couldn't put my hands on another member, but if another member put their hands on me, I should kill him and we would work it out later. I'm really not sure if Vic's son was a member. I believe two of his sons were, but at the time of this incident, I don't know if that was the case. Regardless, hands were indeed put on Manzo. Naturally, the injured Manzo wanted Vic's son's head on a stake, and Vic equally wanted the same for Manzo for trying to kill his son. According to reports, the FBI, fully aware of this brewing feud, began listening closely to their bugs and wiretaps, and overheard Manzo speaking about mob protocol regarding sit-downs, which would first be between the captains, specifically Vic Arena and Paulie Vario. And if they couldn't agree on a resolution, then the beef would get kicked up to the administrations of both families. Manzo was also overheard saying the beef would have to be set straight by Tony Ducks, and also stated that he had the right to kill the kid because of who he was and the fact that the kid put his hands on him. It seems as if the sit-down was at the administrative level by this point, with Vario and Arena in attendance. And I'm not sure who represented the Colombo administration, whether it was Alley Boy or Jerry Lang. Alley Boy was arrested for possession of heroin that same year in 1983, and although that case was ultimately dismissed, he may have been unable to attend that sit-down. Apparently, Vario was keeping Manzo posted as to the sit-down's progress, which was said to be held in the Bronx. FBI reports state Manzo waited by the phone to get a call from Vario. When the call came, Vario told Manzo he was sending guys, company as he referred to them, who according to the FBI were identified as loan sharks in Vario's crew, to watch over Manzo who was in his house. This was in the event that Arena tried to retaliate. Vario, being a seasoned wise guy, was just taking precautions. In situations like that, you never know. Later that day, Manzo received another call from Vario, who explained that the sit-down was still in effect, and a final call from Vario, where Manzo learned they ended the sit-down for that day with no resolution, essentially meaning that nobody was budging. The Colombos were fighting for their guy, and the Lucchese's theirs. Not all sit-downs get resolved the first time around. In fact, most take a few meetings, especially the more complex the situation is. According to reports, during another call, Vario told Manzo, "The situation is so-so, but we're talking. We'll both work it out. Time heals all wounds. The thing they're fighting about now is the guy. What would you do if it was your own son?" The one thing you don't want to hear regarding a sit-down is it's going so-so. Anyway, Vario was referring to Vic Arena when he said the guy, who was obviously requesting that Manzo be killed. That sit-down came to a stalemate, which was not good news for Manzo. Days later, he went into hiding, definitely at the advice of Vario, and possibly Tony Ducks as well. They knew the Colombos couldn't be trusted not to sneak Manzo, so better to have him not around, and more crucially, not become an easy target. According to FBI reports, Manzo had called his wife and told her, "You cannot take anyone into your confidence. Don't trust anyone." The report further stated that a few days later, his wife joined him and they traveled to Europe and spent 3 months in Italy and England. The entire time waiting for word from Vario that it was safe to come back. Manzo and his wife did return back to the United States, although it's not stated when, but obviously, over the course of those few months, the Lucchese and Colombo families were able to put the beef to bed. You have to imagine all the waiting for Manzo was nerve-wracking to say the least, because if the decision went against him, Vario wouldn't be giving him that news, but rather the opposite, and he would be killed by the Colombos, or better yet, by the Luccheses themselves, depending on what was agreed upon. If you haven't liked this video yet, please take the time now and give it a like, as it helps with YouTube's algorithm. And for anyone who'd like to show appreciation for videos like this, or help me to continue making them, you could donate with the Super Thanks icon found down below, or through the PayPal Cash App links in the video's description. Let me just remind everyone of my blog, also called Sit Down News, especially for those of you who still enjoy reading. I just posted a new one today, and it can be found at sitdownnews.com and is a paid subscription. Manzo is an interesting character. Years ago, Vic Musso placed him in a no-show job at a carting company, earning $1,000 a week. A job, shockingly, that Manzo quit. And when confronted by Vic, who learned what he did, he had the audacity to complain about the company's healthcare plan. In this situation with Vic Arena's son, Manzo was extremely lucky. And I believe what ultimately saved him was the respect that people had for Tony Ducks. Because had this incident happened a few years later, when Vic and Gas were running the family, I honestly believe they would have told the Colombos to just kill him.